Then let's see if it works. Okay, well, just wait on. Yes, and I don't know what the audience sees, but okay. Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity to very quickly present some of our work, and in particular, it's the work that we've done using Modcat, and I'd like just to start, so I don't forget, to thank the leading person about what we're going to show today, which is Bruno Tenorio, and he's postdoc with me, soon leaving, unfortunately, in a couple of months. And I also would like to acknowledge Shota is also involved in some of the things that we'll be presenting, and a lot of collaborators, some in the audience, some all over the world. And what we do in my group is one of the main research lines is to try and develop methods for spectroscopy and to make them available in general for all users. And we have over the last 10 years been involved in a number, especially I would say the last 3 years, been in touch with a lot of experimental groups and participating in beamtime applications, and we try to both use what we develop ourselves, but also exploit technology that is available by other excellent groups. And today I will touch upon some processes that have been already discussed, but in particular the photophysics of relaxation in photoexcited molecules and some ionization processes. Well, I think I skipped this, and the big area for us of development and application is in the X-ray spectroscopy, and we have already mentioned or heard about XAS, but we also work with X-ray circular dichroism, and today I will basically touch upon some flavor of X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy. So we are ionizing, and actually the major part of the talk is about Auger. Auger, either normal Auger, which is up here, that part where we start by ionizing the core, and then the system decays by filling the hole and ejecting electrons. And we end up with this type of situation where we can have either, say, if you start on closed shell, singlet or triplet configuration at the end, or you can start working in the so-called resonant Auger, but it's also called resonant XPS by experimentalists, where the first step in the process is actually a core excitation, and then again you relax, fill the hole, and eject an electron. You can either eject from say the electron that was initially excited up here, and then you would have a participator, or you can eject another electron and you would have spectator. And what Bruno did, and also in collaboration with Sergei and De Cleva, De Cleva, good friend and colleague we find from Trieste, we developed this technique to compute directly compute Auger, a resonant Auger within Molcas. And basically what we need is to describe this compute this decay rate, and it in specific approximation. So the Wenzel approximation, you can write it as a contribution of two terms. One here, which is basically the Dyson orbital coefficient, contracted with one electron orbitals that involve, one electron integrals that involve one orbital in the continuum and one in the bound. And then there is actually the leading term, which is this one, which is, because this part is typically neglected, involves two components. The two-particle density, that is what we get from Moltke's. And then to do it, say, the best way, one should also compute two electron integrals involving three MOs and one orbital in the continuum. Now, we have actually just a couple of weeks ago, we are now debugging this using explicit functions in the continuum. But what we did in Moltke's is to implement the one-center approximation, which is an old idea. It was promoted a lot by Fink in the 90s. And it consists basically, okay, the Auger matrix here, the two-particle Dyson matrix from Moltke's, and then this integral is actually replaced with an effective quantity, a number which is pre-computed directly and contracted with the density. So everything is contained in Moltke's, and the quality of the results depend then on primarily on the quality of your description of the states. And here we made a comparison between the one-center approximation or SPT2 results for the regular Auger of water and the results obtained by Skomorowski and Krylov using the CCST two-particle density. And they also use either plane waves or continuum waves to describe the electron in the continuum. And it's clear that there are remarkable differences, in particular on the weight of the triplet here channels over the single ones, depending on which representation of the continuum they're using. And I would say at first sight, the one-center approximation, the two results seem better agreement with experiment. Here are just different examples. I don't want to spend so much time on it. Here is an example of application of an open shell, where we also compare, and I remember here with the continuum approach by Sergei, and show that the two methods, the one-center approximation and this again here that reminds me of acronym, the spherical continuum, is quite similar. And also we here show again what Sergei had already commented upon earlier, that there are two features in the experimental spectrum, this one and this one, that we cannot reproduce in the calculation, but we have sort of strong indication that those are actually direct ionization features. Here I just show the other, say, looks like the continuum part, so the integral part is reasonably well treated, even with this pragmatic approach. Then there is the issue of, okay, what about the configuration space, the way we describe the bound part of the system? And here we show two different, for pyrimidine, results with using two different set of active, or two different active spaces. And of course, you can see that improving on the description of the active spaces, of the active space also significantly improve the agreement with the experiment. I'm being a bit superficial on the discussion, but we don't really have much time. Then we use this our approach to study the resonant Auger and the normal Auger of ozone. Here we go and we look at different resonances. In particular, this one. So the first step is this 4 excitation corresponding to one of the terminal oxygen to the pi star, and then there are also these 2 different excitations that experimentalists look like, and we try to disentangle the contribution, what is seen in the spectra. Actually, we started by looking at just at the Frank condor structure. So you have up here the experimental spectrum and then the results of the calculations. And we were quite disappointed by the comparison, right? Not that experiment is necessarily what you want to compare with, but this is what we try to do here. And then we thought, okay, let's look at actually the dynamics of the 4 excited state. And we then carried out, I keep losing my mouse here, we carried out nuclear dynamics where, and then computing the spectra between 0 and 4 femtoseconds here, and between 4 and 9 femtoseconds here, and then averaging. And what we observed was that this part of the spectrum that was so badly reproduced just with a static structure of Frank condor geometry, this intense feature in the spectrum seemed really to come from the dynamics in the system, the nuclear dynamics part. We also looked at this experimental resonance that, as you can see, is also very close to a direct ionization from the core, and did a very heuristic analysis. So we computed the resonant Auger and could sort of get reasonably well match with this part of the spectrum, but definitely not this one. And then we computed the normal Auger, so we say connected to this ionization, and obtained this result, and then combine them, and suddenly the match with the experiment was much better. And so our suggestion here is actually that both processes are present, and that both processes combine in what is observed experimentally. The referee voted, so you can disagree, but the referee voted, so we voted. We have been talking about X-ray pump probe earlier during the meeting, and here we have some results. This is the first effort we worked on for the timing case, which is actually a couple cluster study in collaboration with the experiment, where we show that this feature emerging in the experimental spectrum after, say, UV excitation and then different delay, the X-ray probe, was primarily due to the population of an M-pi star following time the excitation to the pi star. Now, we have been looking at different systems, and later, 19, we just fully theoretical, we started to look at the case of pyrazine, and at this debate about which states contribute or participate to the decay of pyrazine after excitation to the pi star state. And just a year later, it turned out that Leone had been measuring the carbon edge with a tabletop set up, the time resolved X-ray absorption spectrum of pyrazine, and we joined forces and suggested that what is emerging here in the experimental spectrum is related to the fact that AU state, that is totally dark in absorption, is participating to the process and oscillating, as we had studied before, between the, so there is say a flow of population between the B3U and the AU state. Of course, as also one of the referees noticed, that was a leap of faith. That is a really tiny signature. But so what we have been working on now for a year with an experimental team by Professor Wolf and Hans-Jakob Werner, they measured the X-ray absorption, time we saw both of the carbon edge and the nitrogen edge, both in gas and in solution, but skipping over the solution phase. And we did this, we tried to do the assignment of whatever is observed in the spectrum based on RAS52 results. And what we suggested was, okay, there is the pre-edge region is very crowded. So it became very difficult to disentangle the transitions, but just post-edge region, the line seems off compared to the signature, the experimental signature, but there is a reason for that. But there are two transitions here that have a very strong say, character of being either due to the AU state or the B3U state. So we indicated them to be here, and then experimentally what they did, they followed the oscillation in the experimental spectrum, so maps, and plotted them, and this is the comparison between what they obtained from the experimental traces for these two assignments and what is computed by surface hopping for the same state. So they think that it is reasonable to believe that this part of the spectrum, one signature is a strong signature of the AU state. I already finished my task. Okay, and the other one is the B3U state. What I'm not saying here, but I mean, why are we doing this too, in particular, since I've been many years working on CAPS cluster, is because these transitions here are actually from core transition of the valence excited state to a pi star. So it means that they are double excitations. And it turns out that even with CC3, we are now proving, I mean, I've been computing with CC3 and comparing with full T. I mean, CC3 is still overestimating the position of these transitions. So we have been also able to benchmark the RAS52 and the CC3 results with each other. One last example, and then I just go to the conclusion. This is one, apparently the new toy for experimentalists. Instead of first pumping and then exciting, now they first prepare the valence excited state and then ionizing the core. And more as a joke than anything, a few years ago, we proposed, we show what we would expect to obtain if we work at the oxygen edge, again, uracil again, 1s and S1 and S2, and one would possibly obtain a quite significant shift of one of the XPS bands of the related to the population of the S1 state. The beam time was allocated last year and in the summer, and now we are analyzing the results. We are using RAS52 because it seems more reliable. And here there are two signatures here that we have assigned to the S1 state. And then there is a little signature here that is due to the population of the F2 state that decays very quickly. And then we have up here something emerging that we believe is due to the triplets that gets populated a longer time. And the calculation here is not so clear here. We should put the dynamics on it, but the blue is S1, the green is S2, and then this orange trace here and brown traces are the triplet. And there are significant geometry effects, so I just picked one figure and it's not here, maybe it's clearer. So S2 giving the below edge feature, and S1 dominating and living quite long the post-edge feature. I just jumped in to say that this one is actually the preliminary result where we use the continuum compared to the one center approximation. So it's B squared versus one center and paired experiment. Of course, for neon, it should basically be the same because it's an atom, but also for water and carbon monoxide, normal and resonant, it's remarkable how similar they are, and one is a tiny fraction computational time compared to the other. But the idea of having the explicit continuum is that it would allow us to also look at other phenomena like ICD, where you wouldn't expect the one center approximation to work at all. And I stop here and take questions if there are questions.